dreaming about back when the days were full of endless fun. It's a time, the shadow of my past, when I was two ponies instead of one. Hearts were full of love and magic youth, the time before the tragic separation that made our paths divert. Time was ours to keep forever, spending endless time together, back when my life had worth. Tell me, where'd you find love when you've lost it? How can you fix a heart, uncross the T's and undot the I's of a life that's come undone? How can you spend your time relearning, empty inside forever? You're searching for the feeling lost when light turned us into just me.
I've been hiding all alone from the pain of being lost behind my own front door, running from the fear of my own name and knowing I can't do this anymore. I can't promise I deserve the love you've shown. I haven't earned the way you see me. After all these years, push aside the thoughts of shame and open hearts before this stranger who I knew before I found these fears. How do you tell someone that you're not who you're meant to be? How do you look them in the eye and just apologize for the feeling lost when life turns us into just me? Why can't I take this step?
Why can't we reconnect?
There's too much to say.
We can't go on this way. I can't promise I deserve the love you've shown. I haven't earned the way you see me. After all these years, push aside the thoughts of shame and open hearts before this stranger who I knew before I found these fears. Where do you find love when you've lost it? How can you fix a heart, uncross the T's and undot the I's of a life that's come undone?
How do you look me in the eyes and just apologize for the feeling lost when life turned us into just me? When life turned us into just me.
When light turned us into just me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another Winchester Wednesdays. I apologize for last week. There was something that came up last minute that I had to take care of that was slightly more important. But yes, I'm here this week. So yes. Also, just wanted to let you guys know, I will not be here next week. We're going on a class field trip to John Deere World Headquarters, so that should be fun. But yeah, so other than that, not too darn much has changed. So it's just me in my trailer, sitting alone a lot. But yeah, other than that, yeah. So let us get to the call. Hello, call.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Oh dear.
Hi. Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
No. So.
God damn it.
So, anyways.
again.
So, anyways, we'll start off. First off with my two lovely co-hosts, Orange Shirt Guy and Crazy Match Captain.
I'm first this time.
Woohoo! Feel proud.
Little
Very.
Caesar's Steakhouse Pizza is a good pile of meat.
I'll have to try that sometime. It's too bad Little Caesar still tastes like cardboard. Anyways, next up, we have our wonderful fic editor, Double R Forest.
Those fingers in my hair,
That sly come hither stare, that strips my conscience bare, it's Winchester.
Can I smack him yet?
Yes, please. And next, on to our wonderful fanfiction casting director, we have Forrest Rain.
I don't always cast shows for Brony networks, but when I do, I drink Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Yeah, I will stay thirsty because I'm not doing that.
Well, I am, so screw you.
I haven't had it yet, so. But alrighty.
It's okay, it's getting taxed by the Trump, so.
Oh,
Alrighty. And next, we have our wonderful Twitterer, Larsis.
I'm not wonderful.
No, I'm not wonderful.
No.
You're amazing.
Jesus. Go away. No.
Is there something you want to tell us?
No.
Nothing to see here.
Alrighty. And next up, our wonderful restreamer, we have Coal Dust. Our wonderful streamer, backup streamer. There we go.
He's furiously working.
He's furiously typing.
Asset protection agent. He's an asset protection agent.
Sure.
Well, you see, what he's doing is he's typing the binary of the stream in real time.
No! What?
Yes, he is angry.
Winchester, you can't tell, but I'm hacking you. Next week, you'll totally know.
Yeah. So Coal Dust is going to hack into my system to go and run the stream tomorrow or next week. Yeah, not tomorrow. But yes. Though
Kazoo is second phase.
God, you ruined the surprise.
But alrighty. And next up, we have our wonderful voice acting duo, Zeta and Rosie.
Hello. That's all he has to say, folks. Oh, enjoy.
And last but not least, we have our game organizer, Skyrays.
Banana nut.
Muffins.
Banana nut.
Muffins.
Banana nut.
Muffins.
Bug.
Chocolate chip.
Inside joke, guys.
Yeah, I have no clue what's going on.
Neither
It's
do
an
I.
inside joke.
It's okay.
So I'm just glad that people were here after audio issues ensued. So, oh, by the way, I went to the gas station because I didn't get out of class till about 30 minutes before stream started, and so I went to the gas station because since I didn't have time to take my nap, I went and got some NOS. But I also found this cola there. It's called Caleb's Cola, and it's pretty good. It's like a cola with a little bit of blueberry taste in it. So
Hold on, I'm gonna go get some balls.
Hold on, I thought it was going to taste like Caleb.
What? Okay, wait, no. So someone said balls and someone said Caleb. So wait. What?
Well, Larsis is drinking balls. I'm drinking Caleb.
No, Caleb's grabbing Lars's balls.
Oh, okay.
That makes a
Either
lot more
way,
sense.
it doesn't matter how you structure that sentence. There is going to be a lot of misrepresentation.
So I went to Fry's Electronics yesterday, and they started selling balls there again, and I realized that I could buy it by the case, which is something that I've wanted to do since high school and hadn't had the opportunity till yesterday.
Yes, tell us more about how you love balls.
I love balls. They have such wonderful flavor, and I got 24 of them.
24 balls.
Damn.
Is that like sets of balls, or is it just 24 in total?
24 total.
Oh, okay, so 12 sets of balls.
So this is going to sound really weird, but I have actually had balls before. We had a nut fry for New Year's at work, so we had a lot of Rocky Mountain oysters.
Damn.
Well,
Wait, you had a nut fry?
Yes.
Literally.
well,
What the fuck is a nut fry?
well,
So
hold
do
on.
you know what a Rocky Mountain oyster is?
No.
A Rocky Mountain oyster is bull testicles.
Okay.
So basically, So basically, we had Rocky Mountain oysters, and since they're bull testicles, we call them nuts. And you fry them up in a hot vat of oil.
All right.
All right.
I don't want to
Well,
know.
this conversation is a real balls up.
If you can get past the
hold up.
stickiness, it's pretty good.
Hey, Skyrays, what I need to do is get my bottle opener so I can open my balls.
Uh-huh.
Hold on, let me get you there, buddy.
Ah, there we go. Got it.
Hey, good job. You remembered to hide your debit card this time.
Thanks. Actually, I got this really cool wallet called a Ridge wallet.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically like gunmetal that is strapped to another piece of gunmetal with like elastic, and then you just put all your cards in the middle, and it has like a little cash clip on the back, and it also blocks RFID scanners and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's a nifty little I don't know if I'd call it a wallet, but it's definitely a nifty little card holder.
Neat.
And it keeps me from taking pictures of my debit card all the time.
Yay! Forrest, I posted a picture of my balls in the chat here.
And just so everyone
know,
knows, this is a
If
safe
I was
word.
looking at that chat right now.
I saw that on your Twitter feed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I okay. Now I remember what those are.
Yeah.
That's the thing with the bottles that are all ribbed, and I used to use those to make like special like light toy things.
So that's what you use your specially ribbed bottles for.
Yeah, for the balls.
Yeah.
I thought you used them for other things.
Well, you do, but
I'm going to share with the class in the IRC.
I'm gonna stay confused.
anyways, random bit of
didn't have
news.
those type of
Apparently,
balls.
Audi just created a new A8 that has a built-in rice cooker.
A8 or
Oh
I8?
yeah, that was for the Japanese market.
Ballin'.
Yeah.
and what was that supposed to be, an A8 or an I8?
A8. Audi
Yeah,
A8.
I was going to say
Yeah,
BMW
A
makes the
series.
i8.
Oh.
It comes right after the
I know
I7.
Chevys, Dodges, and some Fords.
Do you also know robot? Because you just went robotic for me.
Yeah.
That's nice. I
Same.
didn't go robotic
Beep,
anywhere else.
boop, beep.
Beep boop bop.
Hearing it too.
Boop.
Am I still doing it?
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
but you're still intelligible.
Yes,
More
Overlord
staticky than
Winchester.
anything.
Wait, does it sound like the Hertz?
Sample rate is off? Yes.
There's been a
These again tonight.
now.
It's rough.
Yay, there you go.
Yay, there
Pretty
you
good.
go.
Hopefully, I don't have to do that for the rest of stream because that requires turning my Focusrite on and off and leaving the Discord
Well,
chat.
it was sounding like that to us, but the stream was fine.
Yeah,
So
the stream was
if
fine.
it happens again, we'll just have to deal with not being able to hear a word you say.
Yeah, I was
no,
gonna
we
say,
can hear you just fine. It's just it's digitally.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like the problems that we're having tonight are more with Discord and Focusrite.
Yeah.
Yeah, Discord is just not happy with Focusrite.
How about we just go back to
Does that mean I'm next
Skype?
on the list?
No,
Why
Skype
would we
is
go there?
terrible.
Yeah, because Lycan would have to host again. Because
I refuse to Skype.
Does this mean that I'm going to run into some problems? Because I'm using a Focusrite right now.
Yeah, so am I.
And
Yes.
Discord.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So it's time to announce our new sponsor, Forrest. Samson.
Our new sponsor is Behringer.
Our new sponsor is Steinberg.
Actually, Behringer works. I have Behringer, double R
Behringer
and
does work.
Behringer.
Our new sponsor tonight is Winchester.
Yay!
According to Larsis, some of the new Behringer stuff actually isn't crap.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing is that Oh, Forrest, I just realized something. You know what fixed my Focusrite back in Texas?
A match and about a half a gallon of gasoline.
No, I just remembered on my desktop I switched to using my Midas.
Oh my god, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Sweet.
So double R, are you gonna keep cutting out, or do you have to go and make the trek up here to use my mic?
I can't hear you, Winchester.
How can you
boy.
not hear me?
Yeah, I can't.
Really
I
quiet,
can't.
Winchester.
I can't hear Winchester either. Can anyone else hear Winchester?
Yeah,
I can
everyone
hear him
be
just
quiet.
fine.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding.
Oh shit! I could have gone with that joke too.
Yeah.
I ruined it.
Yes, you
Oh,
did.
boy.
Yeah.
God damn it, Forrest! This is all your fault. Double R
So,
Forrest. That
so
is.
Winchester, why are we gathered here today?
Well, we're here to do a rating, but I want to make sure that Double R's net is quit being crap.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I just had to mute the live stream. Okay, but now I'm good.
All right, good.
I can hear you. You can hear me. Let's hope nothing else screws
I
up.
hear you.
All right, so before anything else screws up, let's launch right into this thing because we're all gonna screw up massively.
Yes, we are.
So tonight we are going to be reading "Whom the Princess Would Destroy" by a name that I'm gonna fuck up if I read it. So Larsis, tell us who it's by.
It's by Ghost of Heraclitus.
By Ghost of Heraclitus. All right.
God damn it! I just took a drink of Nos.
This is quit.
Tonight I will be your awful narrator, butchering Latin right off the bat. Larsis will be playing Dotted Line. Rosie Posey will be playing Skidaloo. Lycan will be playing Leafy Salad. Winchester will be playing Swiftwing. Double R Forrest will be playing Lord Trottingham and Balanced Ledger. Zeta Pony will be playing Spinning Top and Lady Cloudsdale. Sky Rays will be playing Ivory Abacus. And CMC will be playing Cheerilee. If you are not in the fic, be sure to mute your mic so that we don't hear whatever the hell Orange just did. All right, here we go. Whom the Princess Would Destroy. Chapter 1. Quem regine volant perdere demontant prius. Classical equestrian proverb, roughly translated, whom the princess would destroy, they first drive mad. Their Royal Highnesses could not be reached for comment regarding how often this must have occurred to warrant its own proverb. Dr. Spinningtop of the Cabinet Press Office pinged off a wall and steadied herself with an errant burst of telekinesis. She reflected, not for the first time, that the palace wasn't built for running. In fact, she thought, trying to distract herself from rising panic, the architect must have hated any pony who moved faster than a stately promenade. Nothing short of hate could justify making all the major corridors straight, uncluttered, and invitingly wide, and then giving them polished marble floors. With this thought still fresh in her mind, she put her hoof carelessly on an inviting patch of carpet, discovered that it was apparently greased, and accelerated suddenly. A lot of things happened rather quickly, and she saw, if not her whole actual life, then at least the opening credits flash before her eyes. Before she could get to the really interesting bits, she found herself in the hooves of a bemused palace guard. He, obedient to his training, retained his stony expression, but couldn't prevent the blush that turned his white coat into a simply fascinating shade of pink. Spinning tried her best disarming grin and wiggled out of the stallion's hooves, provoking a fresh blush and what might well be a crack in the legendary unflappability of a royal guards pony. He could hardly be blamed. Spinning went to spend a number of hours every morning ensuring that just about any pony who saw her got weak in the knees. Today was certainly no exception. Her coat, the color of pale gold, was meticulously brushed, and her mane was fashionably styled, so as to best display the red and orange curls that she was always rather proud of. If she were to suffer an uncharacteristic attack of honesty, she'd have to admit that she did it all at least partially out of vanity. But above all, there was a hard-headed practicality about it. If your interviewer is drooling, it's simply amazing the sort of press statements you can get away with. In one incident, now enshrined in equestrian civil service lore, she managed to use a rather fetching summer dress to get a fairly feckless young reporter for Canterlot News Nightly to report that there was no parasite crisis, and never had been.
I'm ever so sorry, my dear. I'm in the most frightful rush.
She picked herself up and, after another smile, rushed down the corridor, skidding, slipping, and sliding. The guard said nothing. His grandfather did say that the uniform would mean that beautiful mares would be simply dropping into his hooves, but he suspected this wasn't quite what the old pony had in mind. Now that he thought about it, the old codger had mentioned something about beating them off with a stick, too. He eyed his spear speculatively. The blade could come off, after all. Spinning picked up speed, panic threatening to overtake her. The news she had, well, emergency didn't begin to cover it. If she didn't get the information to the civil service status meeting in time, they'd all be done for. She picked up the pace again, her hoofs tapping out a staccato rhythm on the floor. She frowned fiercely. This was going to ruin her hoofacure. The wide-arched doorway that led outside was blocked by a tangle of ponies and griffins, but she managed to slip past them all with relative ease. She had been working in and about the palace for years now, ever since she left Equestria Daily, and tourist dodging and noble avoidance were second nature to her. Happy to be under an open sky again, she ran out onto the shallow steps that led to the Sunrise Plaza. She had planned to rush down the stairs and make up time cutting across the lawns, risking the wrath of the gardening staff. Instead, she stopped, cold, when she saw chaos. The plaza was overrun. The cabinet briefing room tried much too hard, Dotted Line decided. The walls were paneled in hardwood, and discreet little firefly globes set in brass fittings lit the place with cold, expensive-looking light. In fact, polished brass was much in evidence, even in places where it didn't, strictly speaking, belong. Also making an appearance were the contents of the entire catalog of snobbish fripperies, gold trim, sage green baize, semi-precious gems, and leaded glass doing its level best to pass for diamond. Every available surface was plastered with paintings depicting ponies and engaged in various heroic acts of wearing expressions of either steadfast, noble purpose or constipated agony, depending on your personal level of ill-willed cynicism. Dotted's levels of cynicism, considerable even in the best of times, were particularly high today. He had to chair a meeting of the Council of Lords, which was the third least favorite of his duties as secretary to Her Highness's government. It was just under trying to keep Prince Blueblood out of the papers and cleaning up the mess left by the Discord incident, but above organizing the light anti-Parasprite Symphony Orchestra. Consequently, Dotted was frowning as his eye flitted past the images of prancing heroics. His expression softened as he took in the ponies actually in the room. They were an odd bunch, it had to be said, officials of the equestrian civil service of various and varying ranks. What they had in common was that Dotted thought them very, very good at their jobs indeed, and that they, together, ran Equestria. Now, some might call this a vainglorious thought, a treasonous one even, but it was the honest truth. The princess ruled the country. None disputed that, at least not for long. The nobles claimed gamely to lead it, and whatever Dotted's thoughts on the matter were, that was supported by any number of ancient covenants and hallowed agreements. The politicians of the government and the parliament governed Equestria, though this, Dotted suspected, was mostly theoretical. The success of Her Highness's loyal opposition and the no less loyal party in the government at making reforms was legendary, at least in the sense that you may have heard of it, and it was certainly written down in a dusty old book somewhere, but you were exceedingly unlikely to ever see it with your own two eyes. Grudgingly, Dotted had to admit that it wasn't entirely the fault of the politicians. The ponies of Equestria, bless them, were quite taken with the political process. As a result, the average tenure for a cabinet minister was, at present, 4 months and falling, as popular opinion grew ever more mercurial. The equestrian civil service, now the civil service, ran the place. They made sure the bills got paid. They wrote down lists and pedantic reports. They kept minutes and filed things so that they may be found again. They made sure that, no matter the crisis, no matter the chaos, tomorrow when the dust settles and the casualties are tallied, normalcy can resume. It's quite one thing to welcome back Princess Luna from her exile, and quite another to make sure all laws take into account 2 rulers. Not to mention getting the Parliament to sign off on all the amendments. Still, it was Dotted's proudest day when Princess Celestia asked him to look into reinstating Luna's authority, and he could reply that all problems were resolved, laws ratified, and changes made, and the relevant edict only required her signature. Her smile made all the sleepless nights and endless politicking worth it 1,000 times over. Dotted shook the thoughts from his mind. He was wool-gathering again, running his hooves roughly through his perpetually messy mane, narrowly avoiding a painful ding on his horn. He tried to focus on Leafy Salad's endless droning report on the minutiae of the home office. A rundown of petty crimes addressed and fears of the populace assuaged. Reports of bushes rustled, stool pigeons interrogated, and a great many constables hitting the pavement so hard it complained of police brutality. Dodded adjusted the heavy silver chain that marked his office and fiddled with it. It was supposed to be clinched tightly enough around the neck to always be straight, and yet loosely enough so it would cause no discomfort. Such was the theory. In his case, no matter what he did to the clasp, he could get it to either choke him or to slip almost to his withers, hanging loose and crooked. At length, Leafy's report came to a close. Dodded suppressed a sigh and leafed once or twice through the notes in front of him, his horn flashing with its usual muted aura as he checked things off on various lists.
Right, that seems to cover everything except the Silverwing arrest.
Ah.
Leafy's blue eyes suddenly growing cloudy. That's interesting. Leafy's blue eyes suddenly grew cloudy. His hoof hovered an inch away from his perfectly coiffed blonde mane. He thought better of it and let the hoof drop. Instead, he settled on fluffing his wings a few times, doing his best not to appear defensive and failing. His white coat somehow contrived to look even paler.
Yes. I remember telling you were to arrest the young Silverwing discreetly, quietly. Lord Silverwing promised to let the thing go through courts without incident if we didn't make a fuss.
We did arrest him without a fuss. A very neat job, I thought.
Neat job? You call this neat, do you?
He levitated a dog-eared copy of Equestria Daily onto the table, turning it around to face Leafy with a vicious jerk. The front page was dominated by quite a lot of ponies in uniform carrying an expensively clothed colt on a pole. The colt was in manacles, wing braces, and several other forms of restraint, possibly obtained from a museum. He did not look particularly happy. Dodded jabbed an angry hoof at the headline that read, "Long Pole of the Law." Dodded didn't look particularly happy either. He directed one of his death glares towards Leafy, the kind of glare that warded off even the most persistent journalists and caused acute heart palpitations in provincial officials. Leafy was relatively unperturbed. He had gone to Uni with Dodded and had been on the receiving end of a great many glares over the years. Sorry, he had gone to Uni. They had long since ceased to trouble him in the slightest. Dodded waved his forehooves around in a vain attempt to encompass the magnitude of his unhappiness.
Whose idea was all this? Yours?
The details of the operation were chiefly the product of the Canterlot Metropolitan Police Commissioner, but she has my absolute support.
Does she now? 40 constables? 40, Leafy. How do you justify that?
Just 5, I think you'll find. The other 35 are off duty and, by freak of chance, were all in the area where the arrest was to take place. As young Silverwing is a violent offender, as per statute, the constables were entitled to draft a citizens' militia to help apprehend him safely. All nice and legal under pars comitatus. You know, hue and cry and all that.
Dodded's grey coat took on a disturbingly greenish cast. He opened his mouth several times as if to speak, but finally closed it. Then he spoke again, in a voice of some pony picking at a scab to see if the pain will come.
The Royal Guard?
Crowd control. They have been sharing jurisdiction over that with the MET ever since the Unified Policing Act of...
Crowd control? There wasn't supposed to be a crowd. How'd the press, all the press, know to be there? You were supposed to keep it confidential.
I did. However, given the sensitive nature of the operation, I had to send a memo, a confidential memo, mind, to notify the Secretary of State for the Home Office, and his principal private secretary, of course, and also the Office of the Mayor and the Coordinating Committee for Civil Unrest and the...
How many?
About 198 ponies all told, give or take the odd dozen. Of course, there was the chance of a leak, but I had to follow regulations. Unfortunately, with so many recipients, there's no chance that a leak inquiry board would be able to identify the culprit, alas.
Leafy wasn't even bothering with false dismay at the last part. Instead, he settled on a stony expression of defiance. He was generally a pony of smiles and sweet disposition, despite the stern nature of his job. Seeing him frown had the shock of the unexpected and the unnatural.
Fantastic. That's just brilliant. Lord Silverwing is going to run roughshod all over the service. He has every right to complain to Her Highnesses now. Do you realize that? What on Celestia's own Equestria possessed you to?
Dottie,
Don't you dotty me. I ought to...
I met the young mare, young Silverwing, tried to, well, she's fine, the doctors say. But she still flinches when somebody she doesn't know enters the room. She's the same age as my Rose, Dottie. Barely a mare. They have foals in the Met. 2, you know. Sisters, relatives. What do you think?
Dotted had his mouth open, face twisted in anger, ready to say some truly unfortunate things. As he listened, however, his expression softened. After a while, he held up a hoof, and Leafy grew silent. The briefing room was quiet, too. Usually there was always a background hum of conversation or the rustle of pages turning, but now there was nothing. Dotted took a deep breath. Then another. Finally, he spoke.
Fine, it's fine. I'll find a way around it, somehow. I'll find some way to spike the appeal to the princess.
He paused for a while, fiddling with the silver chain around his neck. It still hung crooked. After a few moments, during which Leafy looked distinctly worried, Dotted lifted his eyes from his notes, and there was a definite gleam in them.
But don't think you'll walk away from this one. Oh no. You'll be right there when Lord Silverwing uses me as a punching bag. He'll be all over me like a cheap suit. He'll crawl right up my...
Dottie, do you think we ought to continue the meeting?
Right. We'll move on to the report from the Treasury, then.
There was a subdued groan from every pony in the room. No such thing as good news from the Treasury Department. Why her? Why here? Why now? Why a school trip? Spinning Top was not a happy pony. Tourists she knew how to move past. Nobles worried her not at all. Even foreign dignitaries, no matter how exotic, barely slowed her down. But foals? Foals on a school trip? Impossible. Briefly, she considered asking the teacher to help. However, after a few frantic seconds trying to locate her in the chaos, she saw that the plum-colored earth pony mare had her hooves quite full just trying to stop the foals from damaging anything too badly. Grimly, Spinning set to her task. She ran down the stairs and then into the mass of foals, running, playing, and strenuously avoiding the teacher. She was barely a quarter of the way across the plaza when everything went wrong all at once. It started with a shout.
Cutie Mark Crusaders political protesters! Smash the state!
Just as her beleaguered mind tried to process what she just heard, something orange, blurry, and really quite fast flew right at her. She realized that this was a foal, and without even thinking about it, leaped ahead to catch it before it cratered onto the flagstones of the plaza. She managed to grab the little orange missile from the air, spin with as much grace as was possible under the circumstances, and land on the ground on her own 4 hooves. More or less. There may have been some thoroughly undignified scrabbling. At this point, a great number of thoughts could have occurred to her. Say, wondering what on Equestria was a cutie mark crusader, or why the filly now in her hoofs wearing a balaclava of all things. But the thought her slightly befuddled mind decided to go with was,
where did the tree sap come from?
She flung the surprised filly onto her back, hoping that the sap wouldn't stick too badly, and galloped towards the teacher. Then, with deft application of telekinesis, she dropped the filly into the surprised teacher's 4 hooves, exchanged frantic, mutually apologetic grins with her, and galloped past without having stopped for more than a second. As she ducked and weaved around, between and, on occasion, under the foals at play, she could hear, indistinctly, the teacher scolding the orange filly.
If I find a circle A on your flank rather than on the report about this trip, young filly, I shall be very cross.
Whatever the filly's response was, she couldn't hear it. With a final leap that took her sailing over what appeared to her untrained eye to be a cross between a game of hopscotch and civil war, she landed onto the narrow flight of marble steps that led to her goal, the main administrative building and the civil service status meeting.
How do you lose 60 million bits? That's a room full of gold!
Dotted found it difficult to concentrate on the discussion which wound itself inevitably around the upcoming vote about the annual budget. He should be thinking about ways to get political support. He should be pondering the effects of a possible new governor of the Royal Equestrian Bank. He should be listening to the clever ponies from the Office of Treasury. He wasn't.
Well, tell the right honorable member for Cloudsdale North that, despite popular belief, this government is not run on twinkly snowflakes and the power of friendship. Quite a lot of bits are required.
He should probably be thinking about the fact that Leafy had to remind him, essentially, that he was a pony and not just a machine for implementing policy. Again. He really should be thinking about that long and hard, possibly with a glass of something quite potent close at hoof. But he wasn't.
He doesn't need roads because he's a Pegasus? Are you kidding me? Does he not also need food? Is it pablum for his base, or is the pony really that thick?
He let the words wash over him, arguments and counter-arguments blending together into a wall of noise. It was rather relaxing if you ignored the words. A bit like listening to foals at play, really. He should have been thinking about economics and parliamentary procedure. But he wasn't. He was thinking about a number.
Where precisely does he think that the funding for the weather factories comes from? Griffinstan?
The number was 37.
Well, how much of a cut does he want?
37 minutes, to be precise. That's the time until the end of the meeting. And after the meeting came the tea break. 37 minutes to tea. It was all Dotted could think about.
14%. Is he on salt licks? We'd have to cut the entire education budget. Please tell me that's his negotiation position.
He wanted that tea. He needed that tea. He could ask for some to be brought round, of course, but to drink tea during a meeting would disrespect it. Tea was special. It was a refuge from the world, to be drunk in peace. And he had precious little peace these days.
What do you mean there's no negotiation?
But he couldn't just wait it out. That'd be grossly irresponsible, and whatever Dotted's faults were, he was never irresponsible. The tea had to be earned. And that meant that the problem with the budget had to go away. The right honorable member for Cloudsdale North, eh?
Well, you can tell that pompous old fool that the historic independence of the Pegasus peoples is a load of horse-at.
Dotted raised a hoof. Instantly, everyone fell silent and looked expectantly at him. He allowed himself a small private smile. You couldn't demand something like this. You couldn't ask for it. Not really. No amount of obedience, no amount of fear could make it happen. It had to be respect. The ponies at the table may know his faults. They may know him to be, on occasion, surly, cynical, acerbic, and ill-tempered. But he had earned their respect. And that, at least, felt good. Even on days like this, he turned to the young Earth Pony mare who had the unfortunate job of representing the Treasury on these meetings, and gave her an encouraging smile.
Balance, tell me, is the MP for Cloudsdale North still Sky Slicer the Elder?
Yes. This would be his ninth term, I think.
Lovely. Here's what we do. We shave 1.5% off the budget. We can put the parasite relief back with a supplementary funding bill safely away from election season. The bonds those bits were meant to pay off don't mature for another 6 months anyway. This will show willing so the moderates can support it and save face. You get the chancellor to sign off on the proposal, and I'll get the PM to do the same. PM's clever. She'll see it's the only way out of this mess.
Sky Slicer still influences a large block of votes, Dotted. It may not pass. The crisis of confidence that will precipitate, well, the bid is going to take a nosedive for a start. Can't even imagine the consequences in domestic politics. A cabinet reshuffle at the very least. Probably going to end up with the vote of no confidence.
Dotted let her finish. She was the newest member of this little group, and Dotted always liked to see how his new colleagues thought. He was pleased, and let this show a bit in the friendliness of his tone.
You're not wrong. He'll have fewer allies than you suspect, though. This is a risky move even for him. But even with the last-minute changes of heart, he still has a great deal of clout, which is why I have a special mission for you. After the Chancellor gives the go-ahead, which he will, you need to go to the house and tell Sky Slicer that Dotted sends his regards and directs his attention towards the fact that the deeply unfortunate details regarding the Cypress Hall project fiasco are not buried as deep as the honorable member might wish. Mention, too, that he's up against some fairly stiff competition this election. Add that, given the recent spate of leaks from the government circles, it would both be tragic and regrettable if he were to lose his seat over the aforementioned unfortunate details getting into the hooves of certain papers. Cloudsdale Post comes to mind. Now, he should be crying for his mother at this point, so what you tell him is...
Dotted was interrupted by the doors bursting open, admitting a breathless and bedraggled spinning top. In the interest of honesty, it should be pointed out that she was bedraggled by her own standards, which meant that perhaps 4 hairs in her mane were out of place. Dotted would have to be groomed, primped, and coddled for upwards of 6 hours before he could aspire to be bedraggled. In order for him to get to what she'd consider winsomely dishabille, some sort of plasticizing agent would have to be employed liberally. She took in a big gulp of air, exhaled hastily, and quite uncharacteristically shouted,
Oh, every pony, I have the most wonderful, most awful news.
We know about the Equestria Daily headline. Where were you?
Not that, even worse. Twilight Sparkle's coming to Canterlot tomorrow. It's a surprise visit.
And at that, the briefing room exploded into bedlam. Every pony suddenly had a great deal to say and absolutely no time to listen to any pony else. Dotted found it difficult to focus again. He should have been thinking about the security nightmare that this posed. A personal friend to both Her Highness and a major asset in the defense of the realm were visiting, bound together in one small, unassuming body. He should have been thinking about the logistics nightmare this caused, as a safe and suitably luxurious berth had to be found for the personal guest of the Solar Princess. Above all, he should have been thinking about the chaos that this would cause both internally and with the nobility. Every time Twilight Sparkle was scheduled to meet with the princess, he had to reassure pretty much every ambassador, legate, council, and special envoy, often personally, that Equestria wasn't going to invade any pony just yet. And the nobles would go simply insane. But he wasn't thinking about any of this. All he could think about was a number. The number, rather. And how it just got impossibly huge. He sighed. This was going to be a very long day. Chapter 2. 1 hour, 6 minutes after the civil service status meeting, Dotted was standing in front of the library tower that was once the home of Twilight Sparkle. To his right was Leafy Salad. To his left, a castle guard. All 3 of them were identical expressions of mute horror. There was goop on the ground. There was goop on the walls. There was even goop hanging from the ceiling in thick, ropey strands, yellow, viscous, and slimy looking. It gleamed greasily in the early morning light. Occasionally, a bit fell off and landed on the ground with a wet sloshing sound. This would invariably make all 3 ponies wince. It wasn't the suddenness of the sound. You could see the drop coming from a mile away. It's just that, when you heard the disturbingly organic slithering sound of it landing on the ground, you were suddenly quite sure you never wanted to hear it again. Dotted reached out with his telekinesis and grabbed a scoop of the sticky gunk. He brought it next to his nose and sniffed, carefully. He sniffed again, risking a deeper breath. Then, with great care, he popped a speck of it into his mouth.
It's custard. It's just a hint of vanilla. Which leads me rather neatly to my next question. Why is the erstwhile home of Princess Celestia's very favorite student covered in 4 feet of custard, with a hint of vanilla?
The guard winced.
Target of opportunity in royal food fight, my lord. As I understand it, Princess Luna developed a new and exciting spell for the generation and deployment of weaponized custard in, bulk. It was somewhat more successful than initially predicted.
Dotted's eyes narrowed.
Apparently. Are you new here, Corporal?
Yes, my lord. Just transferred in from Las Pegasus.
Well, in that case, I might as well take the time to tell you, I'm not your lord. I'm not any pony's lord, grace or honor, for that matter.
The guard's pony regarded him with a flat, expressionless stare. You could tell he was thinking about this, and Dodd's estimation of him shot up about a notch or two. Say what you will about shining armor, but you certainly got a better classic guard these days. A lot less grunt and a lot more thought. Dodded approved. Partly because of his own beliefs, and partly because he knew this sort of change infuriated the more reactionary sort of noble. After a while, the guard's pony replied.
Very well. How may I address you?
Despite the mess, and despite himself, Dodded grinned.
The name's Dotted Line. So you could try Dotted, or Line, or Sir if you're feeling especially deferential. How shall I address you?
My name is Swiftwing, sir.
Capital, Swiftwing. Glad to meet you. Now that we've got protocol out of the way, let's get back to the matter at Hoof. I estimate that, if pressed, and we are, we could get the tower decustarded by tomorrow. Is the damage bad inside? Just please don't tell me it's full of custard.
Dodded gave the dripping walls a once-over.
Oh, no, sir. There's no custard in there.
Good, good.
Won't be room.
Dodded's smile didn't so much disappear as drain from his face.
What do you mean, wouldn't be room?
The jam, sir.
Jam?
Yes, sir. It's full of jam, sir. Gooseberry, sir.
There was a drawn-out silence. Dodded looked expectant, and Swiftwing responded with the sort of expressionless impassivity that must be lesson 0 in the Royal Guard training program. Leafy. God damn it. Damn it, Larsis. I can't do this.
We're all jammed up. One moment.
Leafy, who had missed breakfast today, had long since managed to worm out of the. Oh my god.
Worm one of the windows open.
Worm one of the windows open, and now was experimenting with adding the custard to the jam. He had that rare, blissful look of a pony whose lot in life could only be improved with the addition of a scone. Finally, Dodded couldn't stand it anymore, and with commendable self-control, unlike your narrator, asked,
Why is the tower filled with gooseberry jam?
Well, sir, Her Highness, Princess Celestia, beheld the custard onslaughts, sir, and yet, verily, did she summon the ancient powers of Alicorn kind.
Dodded raised a plaintive hoof.
Enough. I think I get the picture. Was the East Wing also the site of a battle then?
Not recently, sir. No.
Dodded's telekinesis flipped open a saddlebag and fished out a thick file bulging with bookmarks.
Good, okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put Miss Sparkle in Suite 7A in the East Wing. As I understand it, those were her quarters before being assigned to this tower. If anyone asks, the tower is being remodeled because the floor is unsafe.
You want us to lie, sir?
Not a lie. The floor is unsafe.
Only... Only because it's under several feet of jam, sir.
Details, Swiftwing details. Now, Leafy, what do you need to... Leafy?
Dodded looked up and saw that Leafy had acquired a cloud of exceptional fluffiness, and had, for some time now, been experimenting with an innovative new jam sandwich design.
Leafy, get down here.
With extreme reluctance, Leafy Salad put his prototype breadless jam and custard sandwich away, and glided to the ground.
Oh, come on. Duddy, I missed breakfast.
I missed my morning tea, Leafy. I'm running on distant memories of caffeine and rapidly dwindling reserves of goodwill. You'll eat when we solve this mess. Now, trot on over to the East Wing and have them check out room 7A. We need to update the security precautions and move a few items and furniture from this place. The wardrobe, I'm told, contains some personal effects. So get a few ponies to, I don't know, hose it down and ship it to the East Wing.
Leafy launched himself in the air with a swift wing beat, but then paused, halfway between earth and sky. He gave the deserted tower a look of deep, almost touching longing.
Can't I just...
No! Come on, let's get this sorted, and I promise I will buy you the entirety of Pony Joe's stock.
Luckily, as is so often the case, where appeals to reason and devotion to duty failed, naked bribery succeeded. Leafy brightened up, and with a few powerful wing beats, became a rapidly dwindling dot in the distance. There was a moment of silence, and then the guard's pony spoke.
Begging your pardon, sir, but who was that pony? You act that way in the guard, sir, and you'll end up reassigned to a point so distant, sir, it'd be impossible to find without a mapping spell and a guide dog.
Dotted gave Swiftwing a mournful look.
That, my dear Corporal, is the permanent Undersecretary of State for the Home Office. The princesses help us all. In his defense, he's a lot more stable when he hasn't skipped a meal. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to be complained at by the assembled nobles of the land.
With these words, Dotted Line galloped off towards the old palace, leaving a moderately befuddled Corporal Swiftwing in his wake. The corporal was lost in thought. Mares unexpectedly falling into his hooves, crazy officials, towers entirely covered in custard. Well, every pony was right. Serving in the palace was completely different. And insane. He resolved to buy his grandfather a number of ciders the next time he got leave. And this time, when the old pony starts his crazy stories, Swiftwing is going to be taking notes. Over the years, as the post of cabinet secretary changed hooves, certain expectations formed about the nature of the cabinet secretary. It would usually be a level-headed mare with the patience and general disposition of a schoolteacher and the most exquisite Canterlot manners. An elegance of dress and deportment was likewise assumed, as well as a classical education in one of the very finest of Canterlot academies. Dotted Line fitted these exceptions poorly. In a lifetime of fitting out as only a short, ill-tempered northerner unicorn can, it must be said that being cabinet secretary was his greatest accomplishment. The appointment was so unexpected that a few courtiers were certain the princess was making another one of her little jokes. Some days, Dotted wondered if it really was a joke that just got way, way out of hoof. At first impression, he looked like every inch, and there weren't a great many of those, a northerner. Thick gray coat that resisted even the most vigorous chemical straightening agents. Black mane that overhung the eyes and would, if not strictly controlled, eat combs and terrorize hairbrushes. A low, sturdy build that clashed horribly with its surroundings. In Canterlot, everything streamed oh my god. In Canterlot, everything streamed ever heavenward, while Dotted clung low to the ground, as if he were afraid some pony would steal it. Even worse, the nobles of Canterlot whispered in scandalized tones. His education was entirely inappropriate. Whoever heard of a cabinet secretary with a chemistry degree? Not to mention the sheer scandal of his family. Troublemakers to the last pony with no ancient legacy, no pedigree. Common crafts ponies who came into money running a distillery, of all things. They were, in the opinion of just about any pony who was any pony in Canterlot, a religiously aberrant and politically unhinged group of lunatics. Living on in an island well off in the coast near Van Hoover, an island that was so far removed from the glamour that is Canterlot as to be in another country entirely, certainly didn't help. As a result, the nobles of Canterlot didn't much care for the cabinet secretary, and he, in turn, didn't much care for them. This goes a long way to explain why, as he was sitting in the disquietingly green salon of the old palace, meeting with the assembled council of lords, he had a pounding headache. There was only one item on the agenda, Twilight Sparkle, and how her arrival would spell doom for us all.
It is unnatural and unseemly for Her Highness to be so close to a common pony. This visit is merely a devious scheme devised, deviously, to have Twilight Sparkle, if that is her real name, ascend over us and rule with an iron hoof.
That's not how the equestrian political system works, my lord. It's just a friendly visit, nothing more.
Then the princess is to transform her into an alicorn, breaking the first covenant. Then she will ascend to power and rule over us all with an iron hoof.
That's not how alicorn biology works, my lord. Just a friendly visit. No transformations, no iron hooves, some tea, possibly a scone or two.
This had been going on for a while. He had already given up on lunch, and the stark reality of missing afternoon tea was creeping up on him. He could certainly do with a cup of tea, and the possibility of a scone. As much as he was annoyed by the paranoia of the assembled ponies, he couldn't help but sympathize a little bit. If only Twilight Sparkle weren't so efficient. At this point, there wasn't a member of the royal house not deeply in her debt. The same royal house that her brother, who occupied a position of no mean political power himself, just married into, in fact. And there were all those rumors about her and the princess being a bit more than just friendly. Dotted shook that thought loose. Decent ponies didn't think about that sort of thing. And the worst thing, the very worst thing about Twilight Sparkle, was that she acted as if she were completely unaware of the political clout she wielded. It had to be an act. It had to be.
Perhaps she is secretly the foal of Celestia, born in sin and destined to flourish as a new alicorn. This visit is an opportunity for Her Highness to acknowledge her, and when she does...
Lord Trottingham, it must be said, never let what he privately considered to be a good turn of phrase go to waste.
Iron Hoof, my lord.
Well, yes.
I've met Miss Sparkle's parents. They're lovely ponies, and this is important, neither royal nor alicorns, just unicorns, my lord, same as you or I. And there almost certainly are her parents. A moment's observation will show the similarity, and a few instructive minutes in a hall of records will show the birth certificate is in order. The visit is just for talk and tea, my lord, no announcements of any sort.
Any of those documents could have been forged, and of course she'll be placed with a decoy family she resembles, but that is all beside the point. You don't expect us to believe that someone like Twilight Sparkle is just dropping over for tea, do you?
Dotted Line was impressed. He could actually hear the inverted commas slotting into place.
Yes, my lord, that is precisely what I expect you to believe. It is the truth, after all.
Nonsense! We all know what the true purpose is. It's to continue a shameful practice, a dalliance between Her Highness and a common pony taking advantage of privileges that were never meant to be hers.
Well, they had heard the rumors too. Possibly started them. And there were fairly scandalous stories circulating in manuscript or in tiny print runs. Now, normally, he would have found a way to stop them, even in the absence of a strictly legal framework. There were ways of exerting pressure. However, he'd gotten direct instructions from the princess that he's to leave the matter alone, with a pointed reminder that Equestria had no law against lèse-majesté. Lèse-majesté, excuse me. And okay, he'd read a few of the stories. Well, most of them. Purely in the interest of research, of course. Not that he'd want that fact publicized, of course, which actually gave him an idea.
And where would you get such a preposterous idea, my lord? Items of dragon pen propaganda, by chance? I'm a bit surprised by your choice of reading material.
That shut them up. Of course they've read the stories, but they would never dare admit it. Not in front of their peers who, okay, also read the same stories. The funny thing is that they knew everyone else had read the damn things too. The trick was not to be the first pony to admit to it. Pride's a peculiar thing sometimes.
Of course not! Nonsense! But there is talk.
My lord, there is always talk, always will be. But I assure you, this is a simple visit. Nothing more, nothing less. The princess will make no announcement of any kind, especially not an announcement, pronouncing Twilight Sparkle her immaculately conceived star child and new over-tyrant of Equestria. And we can stay here belaboring the point till Miss Sparkle has come and gone, but...
That she has come, Dotted, that's what we fear. We can only hope for the latter.
She added what she presumably thought was a sly, knowing wink. Sadly, it was rather more reminiscent of the onset of conjunctivitis. Dotted gave up on subtlety and channeled all his frustration into a glare. This made the noble mare physically reel back. Dotted wasn't fully aware of this, but when deprived of tea for too long, he would adopt the intense air of someone restraining himself, with considerable difficulty, from wanton murder. The Equestrian Civil Service had a small and incredibly informal subcommittee whose chief duty was to endeavor to keep the cabinet secretary pleasantly marinated in tea at all times, for the good of Equestria in general, and the subcommittee in particular.
Right. Lords, ladies, if no sensible further comment is forthcoming, I declare the meeting closed. If you're still not satisfied, you're encouraged to petition Her Highness. Such is your prerogative.
Dotted allowed about 3 seconds for Semponi to interject, and then slammed the gavel in front of him on its stand. He employed so much strength that the head wobbled and threatened to fall off. He stalked out without even bothering to look behind him, ignoring the buzz of the conversation. He knew pretty much what the nobles would be saying at a time like this, and it was best to not even hear it, for the sake of his much abused nerves as much as anything. Outside, he took a deep, desperate gulp of air. The palace generally smelled of jasmine and roses, or freshly mowed grass, but right now, Dotted would have happily inhaled inside of a pigsty. Anything to get the stench of nobility out of his nostrils. He took another breath and nearly choked when he saw an extremely dejected-looking leafy salad waiting for him.
Leafy? Aren't you supposed to be getting security for room 7A?
Yeah, ran into a bit of a problem there.
How big a bit?
The room isn't there.
Dotted closed his eyes and pressed one hoof hard against the bridge of his nose. He stood like this for a few moments, offering a silent prayer to Celestia. He used to be quite religious, back in his salad days. His whole family was, in fact. In these turbulent modern times, they clung to the old ways and ancient certainties all the more fiercely. His faith, such as it was, had long lapsed. Mostly because it's quite hard to keep the doctrine to religion, to keep to doctrine religion when you occasionally take tea with your deity. Still, in times of stress, he reverted to the habits of youth.
Sweet, merciful Celestia, grant me strength so that I may not strike the pony before me dead. It's not his fault, and I sort of like him. Besides, his wife would never forgive me. Amen. What do you mean, not there? Destroyed?
I mean, not there, just gone.
How?
I think it would be better if you took a look.
With that, Leafy took off. Dotted Line, earthbound as he was, followed him at a slower pace, cursing the midsummer heat in his thick coat. It was, he thought, much easier to offer prayers of thanks for the sun when he was in his pleasantly mist-shrouded island home. Sincere ones, certainly. To Dotted's immense relief, Princess Celestia's School for Gifted Unicorns was on summer break. Students were right up there with nobles and journalists on Dotted's list of ponies he'd rather not deal with. Thus, the corridor was empty, save for Leafy Salad and a group of teachers looking distinctively ill at ease. The corridor was painted an institutional green about halfway up the wall, and whitewashed above that. This, he'd heard from a psychology major he'd dated in the distant past, was meant to have a calming effect on the inmates. It always set his teeth on edge. The walls were also adorned with modern art. Well, decorations would be the only word. Mostly because the objects lacked any conceivable earthly use, and thus could only be called decorations, despite the fact that they didn't really decorate all that much. Or, well, the alternative nomenclature he'd favored during his younger days, namely junk, got him into a few drunken arguments with art majors. These days, of course, he was much more tactful than that. On good days, at least. Dotted took a good long look at the room numbers. There was room 2, 4, 6, and there was room 7A, as large as life.
Leafy, what are you playing at? That's 7A right there.
No, Dotty, that's the door. The room is gone.
Well, where the hay does the door lead to?
It leads to here, in a way.
Leafy picked up the pace of his speech as Dotted Line made a beeline towards the door.
They said that it sort of loops back, and they warned us not to look because it is supposed to be, and I quote, profoundly disturbing. I really don't think you ought to...
Dotted opened the door. He was profoundly disturbed. He found himself face to face with, well, himself. He'd seen mirrors before, obviously, but this was different. Everything was reversed, for a start. After a lifetime of mirrors, it was disconcerting to lift the left hoof and see a reflection do the same. But what was even worse was that he could feel his own breath coming back at him. Sensed the magical presence of another unicorn that was, in fact, him. Nervously, he adjusted his chain of office. So did his double. It hung no less crooked than for the original. It was disturbing, all right. Still, in a previous life, he was something of a scientist. A chemist, sure, but discovery was where you found it. So he reached out with one tentative hoof. He and his doppelganger were just about to touch, hoof tip to hoof tip, when there was a flash, a bang, and for a brief while, the sensation of speed. Then, for a rather longer while, there was quite a lot of the sensation of pain. When the race of malignant dwarfs that had started performing the anvil chorus moved on from his poor, battered head, he risked opening an eye. The sight of Leafy and a stricken-looking teacher swam reluctantly into focus. Dotted fought to gain control of his lips, and finally managed to squeeze a few words out.
Well, Pony's exclusion principle.
Pony's exclusion principle.
The teacher looked considerably relieved that the chief of the Equestrian Civil Service didn't die. Not quite. On her watch. With some protesting from his aching joints and bruised back, Dotted got up. He walked unsteadily to the door and closed it shut. Then he turned to the remaining teachers and spoke.
Fine. This is a minor difficulty.
Dotty, the bucking room is gone. Pardon my French. Miss Sparkle will just have to stay in a guest
Minor difficulty! I'm not about to tell the Sun Goddess that we can't arrange a visit by our student. Whatever happens, Celestia will not be disappointed. Now, Professor Abacus, was it?
Ivory Abacus, Regis Professor of Dimensionally Transcendent Mathematics, Luna, twitched to attention. She looked around, surreptitiously, and found that most of the colleagues she was hoping would back her up were gone. It was amazing, really, the skill of an academic getting out of an unwanted appointment. A few had been inching away ever since the secretary showed up. Mostly the older ones with experience with this sort of mess. A further few, the young ones, made up in alacrity what they lacked in experience, and bolted at the first opportunity. And one, a certain Ivory Abacus, was too occupied watching the cabinet secretary pivot through the air to get any distance in. This sort of misfortune really demanded a long, erudite Jeremiad from someone of her stature and education, something in classical equestrian, perhaps. She would have to think of something later, because, at this time, the only words that came to her mind were...
Oh, Pony Feathers. Yes, my Lord Secretary?
Judging by the precipitous drop in the temperature, that wasn't the thing to say.
Not your lord anything. I work for a living. Now, you are head of the Board of Unscheduled Reality Excursions, am I right?
How do you know that? That's classified.
Yes, and I do all the classifying. Now, you of all ponies should know, how did this happen?
Well, the room was kept as it was when Twilight Sparkle was a student here under your predecessor's order. We suspect,
She turned around in a vain effort to garner support from her colleagues, and found none.
Well, we suspect that it is an old experiment by Miss Sparkle that got out of hoof. She was always very skilled at dimensional manipulation, you see, and left unattended, a casting grid may develop eccentricities. This is how we believe the dimensions got torqued.
I see. Well, Professor, here's what I'd like you to do. Get the board together and fix this.
Fix it?
Bring the room back, untorque the dimensions, fix it. Surely a student's abandoned experiment isn't too much for your considerable talents.
Well, no, but certainly we'll get right on it.
With an uncertain nod towards Leafy, the professor ran off in search of equipment and absconded colleagues.
Marvelous. Leafy, how's the wardrobe coming along?
You can't be serious.
Dead serious. Twilight Sparkle is going to be able to sleep in her own room tomorrow, or my name isn't dotted Hieronymus line.
Oh, right. Your middle name is Hieronymus. I wonder, did you wrong your parents in some way?
Shush. Wardrobe. Now.
The end for this week.
Oh my god.
Holy moly.
Jam and custard.
Oh,
that was
I
wonderfully
know.
It's
Jam and
So, would anybody like some jam and custard?
Jesus.
Called upon the alicorn powers and brought upon jam.
No, there wouldn't be any room for custard inside, sir. Wait, what do you mean room? The jam, sir.
The jamming.
That was so friggin' good.
This is my jam.
Thank you, Larsis, for telling us to do this.
Yeah, Forrest, I'm sorry I'm making you read so much, but tell me you aren't enjoying it.
It's very challenging.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That personality.
Usually, like, I don't read these things before I read them. So dry reading this is considerably harder than dry reading just about anything else I've read. Especially when I can't stop laughing about the frickin' jam.
Well, it got you in a very sticky situation now, didn't it?
That one sentence that I had to read for
Bum-bum.
Ivory, I almost screwed up on, but I somehow did it perfectly without a problem. I was about to say eccentricities. And then I was like, eccentricities.
You would have been very disappointed.
Manipulation, dimensional manipulation. I was just like, oh my god, I can hear it in my mouth. But I did it. I actually did it. I said it
And
right.
this is absolutely the perfect role for Larsis, by the way.
Get a golden star, Skyrim.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, Skyrace.
I kind of like my slightly aloof character.
Yes.
No, that's the thing is, the first time I read this story, I liked him a lot, and whenever this story came up, Maria's just like, yep, Lakin.
Yeah, Lars has helped quite a bit with the casting, and one of the first things I asked him was, I'm like, are you narrating or are you a character? And he's like, I'm a character.
Well, I was
Like,
kind of
alright.
He's a
wondering.
character. He's always a character.
I think it's the first time that Lars has been a character for, like,
No.
Since I joined Winchester Wednesdays.
yeah.
No,
Well,
you've been a
little
character
small
before.
characters with voices.
Yeah, but this is the first time he wasn't the narrator since he joined.
Yes. And then
Yes.
one time he took over as Pinkie Pie.
Yeah, that was fun.
Russian Pinkie Pie.
Hey,
Yeah,
hello,
Russian Pinkie Pie.
hello, I throw you party now.
Well,
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that Twilight has probably dealt with this amount of jam dealing with Pinkie Pie.
Oh.
Yeah.
In
Well, what about
Soviet
the custard?
Russia.
That did the mentally advanced series version of Rainbow Dash.
Oh my gosh.
So, Winchester, you said this is perfect for me. What makes you say that?
What? What?
You said
What?
you said this is perfect for me. What makes you say that?
Just everything.
You're like
the way that you
level-headed
handle
guy
things,
with
just like
only
you know,
madness going
it's
on
not a
around you.
problem. We'll just do blah 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 blah, blah stuff that I don't
Winchester
understand.
always does level-headed people.
Which is why he's playing the guard.
What about me, though?
You're perfect in your rules.
I'm always stressed or angry.
You're always eccentric.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is true. I am an eccentric fellow.
Yes.
You've got eccentricities.
There's no room,
Seeping
sir.
from your pores.
The jam,
You,
sir.
man.
Just like the
Whereas
custard.
all I got to do this week was yell at Scootaloo.
When-
I had to say, I really liked my role this week because I didn't have to do anything. It was awesome.
Yay!
Yeah,
Oh my
cool.
God.
You
Could've been
really were
Shirley.
the best out of us.
Oh.
I really just want to read this part over one more time. Dotted gave the dripping walls a once over, sir. Or once over. Oh no, sir, there's no custard in there. Good, good. Wouldn't be room. Dotted's smile didn't so much disappear as drain from his face. What do you mean wouldn't be room? The jam, sir. Jam? Yes, sir, it's full of jam, sir.
The
Gooseberry,
only
sir.
way that I could only think of this is like fucking Celestia is looking at Twilight's house, asking what the fuck is going on, and then you have a fucking butler right next to her. And it's
The
the
jam.
butler who's like, oh yeah,
The
no,
jam,
this is
sir.
the jam.
This is exactly what was in the dragon propaganda.
I wanted to sound like that so bad, but the moment I saw that, I just started cracking up. I just like, oh,
The jam.
the jam, sir. Gooseberry, to be precise.
Winchester.
The next part, freaking, you've got Leafy just hanging out of the window, just like grabbing jam from the window.
He's hungry.
To be fair, I totally would do that too.
I'm assuming that was cloud custard jam cloud. That was the sandwich.
Oh yeah.
It's like the double
Okay.
down, but instead of chicken, it's clouds.
Now, I was gonna say, you said this is something you would do. So you're saying that you like the role.
Oh hell yeah.
And I'll admit, when the first time I read this story, I just gotten off of a West Wing binge, and I went into this one. It's just that's C.J. Craig. When it came to Spinning Top, and then Leafy and Dottie came. I was just okay. I got nothing from West Wing on them, but I like them.
Did I do all right, Larsis? Did I make it?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You screwed up fewer times than me. What are you talking about?
I don't think so. I outright had to stop a couple times.
I think we all have whenever we've been narrating.
You make any more mistakes than Larsis does, you just make it more obvious.
Hold on. That scene just reminded me of something.
The
I'm
scene
posting
reminded
it.
me of what's it called? Spaceballs with like.
That's what he just.
I just linked that.
Posted that.
Yeah, literally just posted it in the chat.
Raspberry. I hate raspberry.
Only one man
mean,
would dare give me the raspberry.
I mean, it's totally off.
That's exactly what I thought of when he mentioned it.
Yeah.
Now,
But
and
God,
the part that hooked me on the story was actually the arrest scene that was mentioned at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
There
there were
were
only,
what, like-
there were
Oh,
only
yeah.
5 guards and 35 off duty.
Just happened to be in the area.
It's surrounded by assholes.
40 to be exact.
And I would probably actually be in trouble for something like that too.
Can't get away with that in the Down Under.
all right. Well, I'm exhausted. Good night.
Oh,
Go.
okay.
We need you here for the go-go.
I
It was
can't.
your idea to do CS:GO.
I know,
Yeah,
but
whatever.
every
Early
time you
down.
guys go to play CS:GO, it's the days where I have to like wake up early for work the next day.
Which is every day, evidently.
No, it's just these last couple of Wednesdays.
It's just the Wednesdays.
The
Always
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
The Wednesdays.
Can't win with a Wednesday.
Unless you get a frosty.
Oh,
Isn't it a 4 for 4?
Also, I'm going to admit something, guys, here. My problem is that I normally do this stuff from my desktop back in Texas. I'm back in Arizona this week, and I brought 2 laptops with me.
Oh.
One that I've never tested on this stream, and one that I question the viability of at times because it's a Dell.
Oh.
The Dell rolling.
I've got
in
a
the
Dell
deep.
laptop and the thing barely works for me.
Yeah, Skyrays. This is according to Bash Script, this thing was the direct competitor, both price-wise and spec-wise, of the MacBook Pro I'm coming to you on, and I had to replace the
wonder it's
mainboard
crap.
in it. Well, it's a Dell Precision M3800.
Is that the one that helped you get your monitors?
Yeah. Remember I was telling you I bought a. Okay, fun story on this. I called up Dell because I need to order a BIOS battery, and sometimes they're very particular on what the voltage is on those things, so you have to order the right one. And this was right during Black Friday, and the guy said, "Can I help you with anything else?" I said, "Well, I was looking at a couple monitors," and he said, "Well, which ones were you looking at?" And I said, "The 24-inch Ultra Sharp Infinity Edge," and he said, "Well, what would it take to buy them?" I said, "I don't know. Can I get them like? Since I'm ordering 2, can I get like a discount of some kind?" He said, "Let me talk to my manager." And I was put on hold for 3 or 4 minutes, and he said, "They're willing to sell you 2 for the price of 1, and also they're already 40% off, and that's the price we can get you on those." And I was just like, 2 monitors, 2 Dell Ultra Sharp monitors for $300, done. We'll do it.
Yes.
Yeah. You think you've got it bad? I've got a Dell Latitude.
I have a Toshiba satellite from 2007 that can't even run its own OS. So
I had
anyway,
a
since
first
I've
Dell
got
Latitude.
a Dell Latitude from 2017 that runs on an Intel i3 from 2008.
I have an Asus laptop that runs on Celeron.
Alrighty. So
I
anyways,
dropped my
okay. Now that I have the floor, since Forest Rain is tired and is wanting to go to bed, I'll let her do her shoutouts.
No, don't let her. I want her to stay. No.
I thought
I'm
the
not
game
going
that
to force
was
people to stay in my stream.
Can I just ask Rain one question?
What's that?
How's that
Do you
one?
feel
What is that? How's that one project coming along?
Good. I have to get Rosie to record for it.
Oh. Yeah.
Now I have a question.
No.
How does it feel to let the terrorists win, huh?
No comment.
Oh, that's what I thought.
I have a question.
Oh my god.
Do you feel lucky?
Scootaloo's best terrorist.
Hey, Forrest, I have a demand.
Yeah?
Go to bread.
Okay.
I have a question.
Oh my god. My shout out tonight is to Frank Underwood.
Oh.
Who's Frank Underwood?
Because well, anybody that's into the type of show that we're putting on tonight would know who that is. But if you don't know who it is, go watch House of Cards.
What's House of Cards?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
No. No, Winchester, bad, no cookie. In fact, your cookie privileges are revoked until you at least Google House of Cards.
Anyway, we're also gonna get going.
Okay.
And I'm also going to get going.
This whole house has a bedtime.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that was 4 strange shoutouts. Next on to Zeta and Rosie.
Shout out to Jam. Especially Raspberry.
Shout out to Velvet Pony for making some really sweet jams.
Oh man,
Nobody's mentioning custard.
Yeah, that's what custard sucks. Bye.
Motherfucker.
Son of a bitch.
Well, that was definitely a sticky situation.
Because Luna
Rosie,
attacks
you
with
don't
custard,
listen, chocolate
Celestia
chip
attacks with
muffins
jam.
suck.
What?
Oh, since I'm expecting an incursion pretty soon, Larsis, your shoutouts.
My shout out tonight is to Tampopo Ramen and Desai 50 Daijinro Sake, who gave me the strength to go on tonight's stream.
Alrighty. And by the way, I did look it up.
Good. Your cookie privileges are restored. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, losses.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Oh wait,
I'm still confused. Why are we giving around cookies?
I don't know.
Yeah, where are they?
I blame Bartholomew.
Winchester, are you gonna drive over here to get me some cookies?
No, but I'm gonna drive over there to throw a power supply at your window and leave.
Well, can you at least throw me that one tool so I can get that hard drive in there as well?
No.
You need a tool for that.
No, he needs a cable.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Just throw a spare tire through his window at his face. I'm sure
Yeah,
he'll
well,
survive.
I live in a dorm and that's school property, so you'd be assaulting the school, so I wouldn't recommend that.
This is why you take the screen out, so the thing doesn't destroy the window.
Now, Winchester, when you do so, make sure that you do.
Destroy the window.
Now, Winchester, make sure that when you go to his place and like shove a thing into it, like make sure that you don't have batteries on you, because then it'll be assault and battery, and that would not be good.
But,
Not even double ace.
But
Double A
what
or
about a
double
car
R?
battery?
Yes, don't throw double ace at double R.
And remember, always have protection. You're gonna need a grounding rod.
And don't shout in the street.
Got it. Bring the D cells.
And make it meaningful. I want my first time to be special.
Okay,
Nobody's thrown the face in the window
congratulations.
before, okay?
I am now
I'm
mailing
under
you
piece
the
of
power supply, and you can figure out how to install it yourself.
Oh, dude, he was shocked.
Oh, don't be that way.
It's okay, just think of it this way. I'll have to pay for postage.
All the shipping.
Hey, the it is being shipped. Look at that. Someone just left.
Oh,
To
Orange
be
Shirt
fair,
Guy's
that
door
was
is
actually
squeaking.
probably one of the best door opening and closing sound bites I've heard.
Yes.
Like, it couldn't have been any more perfect.
I like how after this, after we're done streaming tonight. By the way, we're moving into our next section which is CS:GO. But anyways, I'm really expecting after we get done streaming tonight. I told my instructor that I'd go down and check to see if he was still screwing around with that damn bulldozer. And I'm half expecting to actually see him down there like passed out asleep in the cab while it's doing the 3-hour regeneration. Alrighty. Oh, by the way, Orange Shirt Guy has now decided that he is a master builder. You can decide whether or not to pronounce it master builder or masturbator. That is completely up to you.
Wow.
Oh.
I didn't know you had
He's
a child
actually
Lego.
It is true though. He is really good at putting prawns and things on the end of fish hooks. So he's great at baiting. He's a master baiter.
Oh. Yeah, that's what I was totally thinking of.
Boy, I'm a master debater.
There was a movie about that.
Are we going to debate club?
Yes.
We're going to Master Debate Club.
Yes. Welcome everyone to the Sexual References Club. Thank you all for coming.
Now I will warn all
First
of you.
lesson is how not to get arrested for sexual harassment.
I will warn all of you. I
Remember,
haven't
kids,
streamed CS:GO
always find
before, so I'm
protection.
not quite sure how well it's going to work. First off, I have to make sure my video settings are correct. Aspect ratio.
everything's
Oh
about to
God!
break.
Resolution. Want that 1920 by 1080.
Everything's about to break.
I unfortunately probably won't be able to join you.
Oh. Do you not have it or something?
Pardon? Yeah, I do have it, but my lag will just be ridiculous.
Oh. See, I haven't. I think I've played CS:GO
I don't
once
think we care.
since I've had it. So yeah.
I've only played it a couple of times, but that's because my main account is banned, so I gotta use a second account.
It's been a while since I played it, but I did actually play a decent amount.
Why are you in the competitive lobby, Orange?
I'm waiting.
He's waiting on
the world to change.
I didn't mean join me. Join me.
10 seconds left.
Oh my God! This is gonna die.
Alright guys, so I bid you all adieu and farewell. So thank you very much for having me on the show. I would like to do a shout out to my beard. I didn't think I'd like it at first, but it seems to be growing on me.
Alrighty.
Yes.
Oh man.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, Lycan. We love you.
Bye. Where the hell? Okay, apparently there's no way to turn off voice. Oh wait. No, that's voiceover.
Wait, what do you mean turn off voice?
I'm trying to figure out how to turn off Orange Shirt Guy's voice.
Maybe I can change that.
Oh, apparently I don't have you as a friend? What? Oh, because I was not logged in.
There. Now let's see if that works. Why the hell do I have two cursors in game? And, oh fuck. Okay, that's an issue. 1 second, I'll be right back. I have to restart my computer because I am only getting 6 frames per second.
Oh, fun.
So I will be right back. This will be a perfect break to go from our regular streaming to our after party. So
Yay.
nobody go anywhere. We will be right back.